YNA is a podcast that focuses on mental health and other aspects relating to what goes on inside of a person's head. We are by no means professionals in this field and only aim to make these conversations about mental health easier for the listener. Nothing we say or talk about is professional advice unless explicitly mentioned. If you seek professional advice or experience symptoms of an actual mental disorder, please contact a professional or visit your closest center for behavioral health. You are not alone.
What's up, guys? Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're looking for more of our content and merch information, be sure to check us out at ynamentalhealth.org. Keep an eye out for our skits and upcoming episode information. Feel free to reach out to us on IG. Our DMs are always open. And please remember, you're not alone.
Hello. Welcome back to YNA Mental Health. My name is Sina Balouch. I am the co-founder of YNA Mental Health, and I just want to say that I'm very thankful and grateful to have you here, wherever you are, listening to this podcast episode. I truly appreciate everything you do to support me, to support YNA, and to really show that you're here to better your mental health, because that's what we're here for. We're here to better your mental health, get you on the right track to become the best version of yourself. And so today's episode is on, is therapy right for you? It's funny because I'm biased to say, so I do want to admit that I've been going to therapy for a long time now, and I work for a private practice mental health counseling. And so therapy has been in my background for a while, but I kind of want to break down things today and give you more of like questions, things to ask yourself. I'm not here to force you to go to therapy. I don't want to push you to do something you don't want to do. But basically, I just want to have you listen to me talk about whether therapy is right for you. Whether you are in therapy already, whether you're trying to decide to go to therapy, whether you don't think therapy is right for you. Let's go through this episode together, and we hopefully can get you on the right track. So, in this episode, how can we find what does it mean to have the right therapist? What to expect from the process? And so, I'm going to break down some misconceptions to help you figure out whether therapy is right for you. I do want to say that about 42 million people in the US receive treatment or counseling for their mental health. That means that nearly 1 in 4 adults age 18 to 44 and over 20% of the United States adults live with some sort of mental health condition. If you're thinking about therapy, I want to remind you that you're not alone. Now, what are some signs that you might need therapy? Therapy is a powerful tool, but I believe it's a powerful tool if you want it to be a powerful tool. Because in life, we must put 100% of our energy into something if we want it to help us change. If we want to become the best versions of ourselves, we need to put in the time and effort to become the best versions of ourselves. Change the little things inside of us that we don't think are helping us become better. So, some questions I have for you are you avoiding social interactions? Are you having difficulty maintaining relationships? Maybe are you struggling to sleep at night? You're tossing and turning all night, and you just can't seem to turn off your voice in your head. Has anything at work been bothering you more, or anything at school that is just getting worse and worse? Have you been feeling symptoms of a disorder, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder? Have you been self-harming yourself? If you have answered yes to any of these questions, then maybe therapy is right for you. But first, you don't have to wait until you hit rock bottom to go to therapy. A lot of people who do go to therapy all have a good head on their shoulders and have been bettering their mental health every day. And for some people, like me, I struggle with my mental health. But since I've been going to therapy now and continue to go to therapy, it has helped me continue to keep bettering my mental health. Actually, the CDC has said that a lot of adults these days have underlying mental health conditions that they're not aware of. And so it's really funny that we try to break the stigma of mental health and talk more about our mental health. But if you don't get the help that you need, how are you supposed to get better? Have you noticed any signs in your life that have been affecting you? Like, has there been anything that has really been bothering you lately? Like, have people commented on the way that you've been acting? Sometimes the people around us have a way better view of us than we do ourselves. You wake up every morning, you look in the mirror, you see the same thing. You go to work, you come back home, you cook, you go do whatever you need to do, go to sleep, and then restart the day. And sometimes we just don't look in the mirror. We don't sit and think about what's going on in our lives and whether we do need to address the issues. I think this is where COVID had played such a big role in mental health. Was people at a point were distracting their lives so much that they were able to run away from their problems. But during COVID, you couldn't run away from your problems. You were facing your problems dead on. You were faced with what you had to deal with. And no matter what, as many distractions as you could, at one point in time, you had to sit with yourself and think like, man, maybe I'm not doing as good as I thought. Maybe my mental health needs a check-in. Maybe I need to check in with myself. And I think that's a big question that a lot of us try to avoid is, have you checked in on yourself lately? Have you sat with yourself and been like, hey, am I okay? Like, things have been different. I have felt a lot different recently, but I just can't seem to put a finger on it. And that's what I believe therapy is so good for, is it's not supposed to fix all your problems. Like a lot of people think that if I go to therapy, all my problems are going to be magically solved. Like the therapist has a magic wand and he's going to touch you, he or she's going to touch you with it and you're magically just going to become better. No, it's just your therapist is supposed to guide you. Like imagine you're in a dark forest. There's no lights. There's nothing. You've never been to this forest before. You're confused, kind of lost, not sure if you're in the right place or not. But your therapist is supposed to be the flashlight. They're supposed to give you the light to show you, hey, this is the right path to go. Or maybe this is the right path to go. But you are the one who takes a step forward. You are the one who guides yourself through the forest, but the flashlight aids you and pushes you through lost situations, difficult scenarios. Maybe you just broke up with somebody that you really loved. Maybe you just had a family member pass recently. Maybe you lost a good friend. Maybe you're just feeling sad and you're not feeling fulfilled in your life. And that's okay. Like a lot of people think that I need to be okay at all times. I need to be 100%. That's not true. I think the biggest thing I always go back to, it's okay to not be okay. I think that's my definition of what is mental health, is that it's okay to not be the best version of yourself. But it's not okay to expect that everything is just going to turn around and your life is just going to get better and you just need to wait and have patience. No, I think some of us do need help. So the big scary question that everyone's feeling is, what if therapy doesn't work for me? That's a fair question, but it takes time and it takes effort. In life, you can have whatever you desire, but it's going to take consistency, determination, motivation, focus. You're going to need all of that to be able to reach what you want. You're going to have really tough days where you don't want to keep going. I kind of look at it because I'm a huge weightlifter. I love to go to the gym. The days that you show up, on the days that like things are not going right and it's really hard, those are the days you get 10 times better. When you show up on the tough days and say, hey, you know what? Like, it's a tough day, but that doesn't mean that I can't be great. That doesn't mean that I can't show up for myself. That doesn't mean that I can't love myself and be here in this moment and do my best. So, the American Psychological Association showed that 75% of people who try therapy see some benefits, but it can take multiple sessions, sometimes up to 20. At the practice, a lot of clients call and they kind of talk about like, when will I be better? When will, how many sessions is it going to take? I've heard that question a lot, like how many sessions until I stop feeling like this? And I tell clients all the time, like, it's not the determination of how many sessions it's going to take. It's how badly do you want to get better? How badly do you want to heal yourself? And how badly do you want to stay committed to this? And is your mental health a priority? Are you making your mental health a priority? A lot of people say, I'm putting myself first and making my mental health a priority. It's my number one value, or it's my I'm gonna be so much better once I start getting help. And then they miss their session, or they have a really tough day and they fall back into their bad habits, or they tell themselves that it's okay, I'm fine, like I don't need to worry about this. Like these are things that honestly are just hurting you. These are excuses. You're giving yourself excuses to make yourself feel better about not doing the thing that is going to make you feel better. And every counselor that you're going to meet is going to be different, right? So Every counselor is going to have their own form of approach, whether they use CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. Everyone uses different approaches, and you have to figure out what approach is best for you. And so there's no one-size-fits-all solution. I talk to a lot of the therapists at our practice, and I express to them, like, hey, like, what approach really helps clients the most? And they say, none of them. Like, a lot of people think that, oh, if I go get cognitive behavioral therapy, I'm going to be 100%. It's like, no, it's not how it works. It's like if I said, if I go do bench, that's going to just grow my chest. Like, no, you need to do different compound workouts to build your chest. And so you have to be able to try multiple different approaches. You have to do a mix of all these different approaches to help you. One approach is not going to fix all your problems. It's going to take multiple approaches. So the question I have for you is, have you ever considered what type of therapy might work best for you? I know you are going to be like, Sina, I have no idea about any of the approaches. Like, what am I supposed to know? But this is something you ask your therapist on the first 2 sessions. Like, hey, what are your approaches? What are your theoretical orientations? Like, what do you really follow and what do you hone in on? And then that will give you a better understanding. Be like, hey, okay, cognitive behavioral therapy, explain it to me. DBT, explain it to me. ACT therapy, explain it to me. Somatic therapy, explain it to me. You are able to do your own research these days. Like, Google is your best friend. And so you can look up all of these therapies, type of theoretical orientations, and figure out what is right for you. I don't think everything will be, and sometimes Google isn't the best answer. Like when you have like a flu and then you type into WebMD, like, I feel this pain in my side of my body. And then a WebMD says like, oh, you're going to die in the next 10 days. Like, I've been there before, so I know what it feels like. And you might get overwhelmed by the amount of theoretical orientations there are, because there's a lot of them. But doing your own research, I think that's a small step in making your mental health a priority. That you are doing what you said you were going to do. I'm going to make my mental health a priority. Okay, but what does that mean? Like, what does that mean to you? Does that mean I go and research what CBT is? Or I go and research what therapists do I have in the area? Or I go and research what I'm dealing with, like what symptoms am I feeling that are leading to this disorder? I also think that do not self-diagnose. A lot of us mistake and make problems bigger than they are by self-diagnosing ourselves. In the therapy world, a lot of people are self-diagnosing themselves as autistic simply because they're either on TikTok or social media or something that basically expresses to them these are the symptoms, and they hone into it and they connect it to it, and they're like, oh, wait, I have 5 of the 6 symptoms he just mentioned. Like, I have to be autistic. Like that. It's impossible for me not to be. Self-diagnosis is a way for your mind to protect itself, to basically identify and be like, okay, I am this, so I have to be this, and I fit into this realm of everything about this. This all makes sense to me. I do agree that you do know yourself the best, but I also think that we put ourselves in situations where we overanalyze, overthink, and hurt ourselves. Because I don't believe that Google's going to have all the answers for you, and Google knows exactly what you're dealing with. I think a third-party view is important, and someone who's trained and is able to give you the proper education or the proper information to figure out, like, hey, you may have symptoms of depression, but it could be all in anxiety. Anxiety and depression are basically brother and sister. They hold hands, and a lot of the symptoms bleed into each other. And so I wouldn't be focused on like, oh, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have PTSD, I have this, and so I need this, and I have to find the right therapist that does this, and that may help, but I think in the end, you're just going to feel a lot more overwhelmed than you're going to feel like, I feel help. That really helped me. That self-diagnosis, like, we love to connect to things. We love to identify and be a part of things and be a part of groups. We're humans. That's how we find connection, is through community and through, I'm dealing with this, I'm struggling with this. Okay, now I need to find a group of people who struggle with this, and now I can feel heard and I can feel validated in my life. Like, it's not about that. I think with mental health, we all go through our own mental health journey. We all have different environments, different things that have forced us to struggle. But not all of us will be one thing. Like, you may have some symptoms of anxiety, but you could have OCD. You could be bipolar. You could be a whole different realm, and just some symptoms bleed into each other. So going back to, is therapy going to help me? Therapy is a partnership. In the end, a therapist is not going to fix everything for you. And that's a big misconception in the therapeutic world, is that, oh, I'm just going to walk in again and the magic wand, it's going to touch me on the top of my forehead and I'm just going to be magically saved. A good therapist isn't there to tell you what to do or make decisions for you. Instead, they're just going to try to tell you how your mind works. So going back to my kind of story, like my therapist has been drilling this into me for God knows how many sessions now. And so he has continuously told me like, hey, you are somebody who uses logic and you don't feel your emotions because you think that you can fix things logically. All you need is logic and you're able to answer the issue. But that's not true. You know, like to me, logic has helped me figure and solve a lot of problems, but that hasn't helped me solve my emotional issues. Because to fix your emotional issues, you need to feel your emotions. And I have struggled with this all my life, is that I have overanalyzed, overthink my way through things, and 50% of the time, that's not going to help. So I do need to sit with my emotions. I need to identify them. I need to feel them. I need to give them space to be felt. And so this is something that I've had to continuously work on. You know, like I've gone to so many sessions now, but it's still something I have to work on. My therapist can point it out and be like, hey, this is something you need to address. But I need to finally come to myself and be like, yes, this is an issue. How do we get better at this? Therapy is a tool. And so it is up to you on how you use this tool, right? When you're able to be vulnerable, when you're able to engage and show up and be like, hey, I know that I need help and I want to get help. One of the therapists at my practice said to me, like, I was like, who do you like to work with? And he said, you know, I want to work with people who have the desire to get the help that they want. Like, you know, I want to work with people who want to come in and want to put in the work because it's not going to be easy. It's not. Like, therapy is like you have to sit and face your issues head on, but you're going to have someone to help you. Like, you're not going to be by yourself facing them. And you've probably been dealing with a lot of the problems and the issues you've had all your life, and you've been dealing with them all head on by yourself with no guidance. You know, you've been walking through this dark forest this entire time, and you keep feeling the trees, and you're like, it's this way. It has to be this way. And you're just turning in circles, and you're not coming to an answer, you know? So I got to ask you, are you ready to take ownership of your mental health? Because if not now, when? Is it when things get really bad? Is it when you pass rock bottom? I mean, you tell me. When is it going to be like, I need to put this as a priority for myself. I need to make my mental health a priority. It's up to you. Like, you can listen to this podcast, all my episodes, all day, all night, which I would greatly appreciate. But you are the one who has to realize, I need help. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. I think we get so scared of being like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I need help. And no, I can't say that. I can't be saying those things. Like, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay. You know, like, we always think that like being weak is a problem. Like, I think for men, it's just like drilled into our minds that, oh, being weak it's not alpha of you, or it's not manly of you, or you're crying. Like, stop being so vulnerable and stop being weak. You know, I feel like at any point in time, like, we all become weak. But I look at weakness like a failure. Like, failure happens, but if I don't learn from my failures, I'll never succeed. If I didn't fail 100 times by now, would I have ever succeeded in my life? Like, no. If I wouldn't have created the first episode that never aired, or it just never worked out for me, and I realized, okay, well, what if I do it again? What if I try again? I think we have this misconception of what weakness really is. And you don't need to be scared of being weak. I don't want to say there's nothing wrong with being weak, but if you put in the time of effort to become strong and you're putting the consistent work, like, you're doing your best. And that's all anyone can ask of you. So the big question is, how do I find the right therapist? So you listened to this episode and you were like, hell yeah, Sina, we're gonna go to therapy. We're gonna go get the help that we need. We're gonna be the best versions of ourselves. We're going to make our mental health a priority. And then you go to your first session, you meet your therapist, and you walk out and you're like, what the hell was that? That was not what Sina said it was going to be. He said that I'm going to magically become better. The wand was going to hit my forehead and I was just going to become so good. This is the hardest part, is finding the right therapist for you. You know, like, clients always ask me like, well, how do I know that this person's going to be right for me? I said, they might not be right for you. You know, this therapist might not even solve any of your problems, but that's okay. Because on the other side of it, they could help you with all your problems. They could be the right therapist for you. So when you're searching for a therapist, ask yourself a few key questions. Ready? What is the therapist's general approach? Do they specialize in the areas that you need help with? If I struggle with borderline personality disorder, one of the best solutions is called dialectical behavioral therapy. That has been a huge treatment for clients who struggle with borderline. You struggle with PTSD, trauma, maybe you were sexually abused, sexually assaulted. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Huge treatment process for helping clients with PTSD. Big question. Do you feel a connection with them? Do you feel comfortable being honest and open with them? That's tough. You know, like, have you ever met somebody and you just didn't connect with them right away? Yeah. Like, some of my friends, like, I met them and I was like, you know what? I don't really like this person. And then I met them again and again. And I was like, you know what? They're not so bad. This person, they're not so bad. Give it time. Give it time. Try to see if this person's right for you. Talk to them more. Go to more sessions. I always say that it takes about 3 sessions to really know if you're going to connect with that person or not. Next question is, how available is the therapist? Are they accessible when you need them? Like, do they have an open schedule? Can you meet with them regularly? Can you be consistent with them? That's really important. And the last 4th question is, do you think this therapist can provide the help you're looking for? Again, the first therapist you see is not going to always be the right fit. Most of the time they might not be, but there's a possibility that they can be. Keep going. You know, don't go to one therapy session and be like, they're not right for me. I'm not supposed to get mental health help. I'm not going to make my mental health, but no, don't do that. Don't, please. That's self-sabotaging, which I know I am the big one. I am one of the biggest self-sabotagers, and I'm here telling you, don't self-sabotage. Because it sucks, because it's not going to help you. It's not. It never does. You're getting in your own way, which I do a lot. But I'm working on it. And see, these are things that I've identified inside myself and been like, you do this, but we're getting the help that we need. And we're getting better at identifying when we need that help. So after all of this, and you're still not sure about therapy, that's okay. Your feelings are valid. What you're feeling is true, you know? And for some people, therapy isn't right for them. I have a best friend who has gone to therapy, who has done multiple sessions. And they just realized, you know, like, this isn't for me. It hasn't worked for me. And that's okay. There are other options. Medication. So see a psychiatrist. If you're dealing with depression, antidepressants. But like, for someone like me, medication is not for me. You know, like, I've learned that medication isn't the answer for me. So I just love to go to therapy. I think one helpful way to ask yourself whether therapy is right for you is, how do I feel about the idea of therapy right now? Are you open to it? Are you reserved? Are you closed off? Are you on the fence? Again, just a couple sessions. What does 1 hour of your time once every 3 weeks really is? That if I could tell you that if you put that 1 hour every 3 weeks, that in the next 6 months that your mental health would be 100 times better, would you do it? Would you go get the help that you needed if I told you that, hey, like, I'm over here behind this door and the help that you need is right here. But whenever you're ready, open the door. It's going to be a long path to get to me. But once you get to me, I promise you, you're going to be a lot better, feeling a lot better than you ever have. So remember that your feelings about therapy can evolve over time. It doesn't need to be a lifelong commitment. I've had many people who go to therapy for years and then stop and then come back to it. I went to therapy when I was 12, 13 years old. That was my first time. My first session, I didn't talk. I didn't talk to the guy. He tried, and I was not about it. I didn't want to be there. I had been basically school ordered to go, and I didn't want to go. But we went, and then a couple months went by. I was like, wow, this is helping me a lot. And then a year went by, and I started getting excited to go to therapy. I was so excited to go and talk to someone about my problems. And then I stopped going, and then years went by, and finally my sister looks at me and she's like, you need to talk to somebody again. Like you need help. And sometimes, again, like we don't see what's in front of us, right? We don't see the things that other people see. Because again, we see it's like a mirror. We look ourselves in the mornings and we just see ourselves, and maybe we don't see the issues that we're dealing with. And so maybe all you need is someone else to look at you and be like, hey, I think you need help. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can use it when you need it and step back when you don't. So now, if you're still unsure, I have some common misconceptions for you. The first one I hear a lot is like, therapy's only for people who are really messed up. It's not true. You don't need to wait till rock bottom to go get the help that you need. We all face challenges in life, big and small. We all at one point have to deal with life. And I think it becomes really tough when it's something that just happens out of nowhere, right? So it's like you just lost a family member, and now you're feeling depressed, and you feel isolated, and you're starting to pull away, and you feel lonely. You feel like no one loves you. I think that's the one thing we don't understand about loneliness, isn't that you're not afraid to be by yourself, but it's the fear that we're unloved. Loneliness is the fear of not being loved. And you may be feeling that right now. You may not be feeling your best, which I'm really happy that you're listening to this episode. Again, it means a lot to me that you're here. This to me, and I would say to you, is you prioritizing your mental health. You're listening to a podcast that's focused on mental health and trying to figure out and answer the questions within yourself like, hey, is this what I need? So, another misconception would be therapy should always feel good, and that therapy can bring these uncomfortable feelings. But that's when you grow, right? It's been said that we grow the most when we're in uncomfortable situations. When we put ourselves into uncomfortable places is when we change, and we're forced to grow. I heard this quote, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I feel like that doesn't make sense for a lot of people, but like if you don't put yourself in a position to change and to become the best version of yourself, because you may not be the best version of yourself right now. As humans, we're always growing. We're always learning. We're always trying to be better, right? Some of us, not all of us. But it's up to you to become uncomfortable. You have to be okay with it. Do you really want to become better? Like, do you want to get help? Or are you living in this fantasy world where you're telling yourself that I'm okay and that everything's fine, and you're just lying to yourself every day and making excuses and saying, oh, I'm too busy for therapy. Oh, I'm fine. My mental health is okay, Sina. But then you blew up on your best friend yesterday and projected all of your anger over them simply because you felt sad and lonely. And now your friend is mad at you, and you don't understand your feelings. You don't understand what you're going through, but you're telling yourself that you're okay when you're really not. Like, at what point will you accept that I'm just not okay? So, lastly, let's talk about that therapy isn't for everyone. According to the APA, therapy has a 75% success rate. There's a good chance that it can help you, and there is a chance that it might not, right? And that's with everything. But if you don't give it a try, if you don't give it a chance, how will you ever know if it's going to help you or not? A lot of the excuses I've heard from people are like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, why? I have friends, I have family. I don't need to talk to anybody. I have my pets, or I have a dog, or I have a cat, and I don't need, I'm good. I get love from them. I get enough love from them. And I have friends that will listen to me. I don't need to talk to anybody. I don't want to seem like I'm crazy. I just want to repeat this. You are not crazy for going to therapy. I've heard that so many times. It's not true. That's another misconception. It's, I'm crazy if I go to therapy. Like, no. A lot of people say that I don't need it, or I'm not going to get any better from it. How is me talking to anybody else going to make me feel better? Sometimes take a step back. Let's take a step back. Hold on. before you start making all of these excuses or making all of these assumptions or judgments, take a step back. Look at the bigger picture. Maybe you going to therapy is going to help your daughter, your son, help your relationship with your spouse. Maybe you going to therapy gets you a better understanding, gives you the tools that you need to push you through and make you feel better. I always don't understand, like, why, what's so scary, or what's wrong with feeling better? Like, why do we have to? And I think this is where the stigma begins, like we're so scared to talk about our feelings. We're so scared. People are all here to hurt us. And what is a therapist going to do for me? Like in those moments, you have to be okay with not being okay. You have to understand that not every day is going to be a good day. And so with therapy, you'll get a totally better understanding of your mental health, the tools that you need, and you're going to be able to connect with somebody who has a third point of view that's going to just tell you, like, hey, maybe these are things you need to work on. A lot of things that I had to identify within myself, I had to sit with myself and critically think. And there was a lot of things that my therapist has addressed to me that I never thought I had any issues with, but it made sense to me. Like after he pointed out some things in my life, I was like, you know what? I do that. You know what? I do act like that. I do have a tendency of doing this. So to sum it up, we've covered the signs that therapy might be right for you. It might not, on how to find the right therapist, what to expect from the therapy process. We've also looked at some common myths and some misconceptions that are holding you back. You are holding yourself back from your greatest potential. We are our worst enemies and our best friends. So if you're still unsure, that's okay. Man, I am not mad at you for not going to therapy. No, but take some time to reflect. Take some time to reflect on where you are right now, what you're feeling. And it's okay if you need more time. Therapy is not a permanent commitment. Whenever you're ready, the help is there for you. So don't be scared. I'm always here for you. I'm always here to listen. On our socials at YNA Mental Health, feel free to DM us. I always tell people vent. Like, you're more than welcome to vent in our chats. I will try my best to respond to you and try to get my advice and opinion. But please don't take it as like a therapeutic opinion. I always have to put a warning out there. But I think when we're able to vent and just put our feelings out there and just kind of express ourselves, you don't understand how much better you'll feel. So again, I'm so thankful for you. Like, listening to this episode, trying to prioritize your mental health, trying to put yourself first, means the world to me. It means that you really care about your mental health. And that's what makes me happy, is that you are prioritizing what's important to you. And I hope one of them is your mental health. So I really appreciate you for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with others. The only way that the podcast episodes get better and expand is where you share them with others who could be struggling. You never know. Somebody out there could be struggling with their mental health, and sharing them this episode might help them. So again, if you're feeling like you're alone, you're feeling like life is just beating you way too many times, you feel like you're a burden on this world, and you feel like life is just too heavy, please reach out. Please get the help that you need. And I just want to always remind you, you are not alone, and I'm always here for you. To catch you on the next episode, guys. Take care.